The airport woke early. Screens blinked with flight numbers and suitcases clicked like drums. A father held his little boy's hand and moved with the crowd. He wanted a peaceful trip and a calm morning for his son. The boy had not slept well. He was 6, smart and sensitive, and big spaces felt loud to him. He held a small, stuffed airplane. Its wing was bent from so much love. Every few steps, he looked up. The father squeezed his hand, steady as a promise that the day would be okay. At check-in, the agent smiled. The father thanked her for seats together and spoke softly. He did not share his title. He wanted his son to see that respect can be quiet and simple. Security was busy. Shoes came off, trays slid, belts clinked. The boy watched his toy go through the scanner and worried it might get lost. The father knelt to meet his eyes. "It will come out on the other side," he said. "Like it is flying through a tunnel." The boy nodded. When the toy appeared, he hugged it and smiled. They reached the gate. Outside the glass, an airplane rested like a sleeping bird. The boy pressed his hand to the window. "Is that ours?" he whispered. The father checked the sign and nodded. "Yes, that one is going. To take us to Grandma." He started to feel better. Across the hall, a flight attendant named Maya checked the boarding list. She loved her job and liked helping people feel safe in the air. Today, her shoulders felt tight and a headache tapped near her temple. The agent announced pre-boarding for families. The father and his boy joined the small line. The boy held his toy like a brave badge. Maya greeted them with a soft, "Good morning." The father thanked her. For a second, Maya noticed the calm in his voice. It made other people breathe easier. She did not know his name. There were many faces to guide today. Inside the plane, the air smelled like coffee and cool metal. The aisle looked long to the boy. The rows of seats felt like tall walls. He squeezed his father's hand. "We sit there," the father said, pointing to seats by the window. "You can watch the wings." The boy liked that idea. He climbed in, set his toy on his lap, and traced the window frame. Maya moved through the cabin with practiced steps. She helped an older woman lift a bag. She found space for a stroller. She listened to a passenger with a tight connection and promised to check with the captain. Every word she spoke was measured and kind. She wished her headache would fade. She reminded herself that everyone on the plane carried a story. The father buckled his son's belt and then his own. "The plane will make a little noise when it starts," he said. "It may shake a little. That is normal. If you feel worried, squeeze my hand 2 times. That is our signal." The boy nodded and practiced the 2 squeezes. It made him smile. Boarding filled the cabin with a soft buzz. People placed bags, removed jackets, and checked phones. A baby in the back cooed. A student near the front put on headphones. The boy watched it all like a gentle movie. He held his toy closer and took careful breaths. He breathed slowly and counted to 5. It helped, truly. Maya began the safety checks. She counted seatbelts, checked the galleys, and confirmed the doors. She spoke with Leo, her fellow crew member, about the expected flight time. "Full flight," he said. "Yes," Maya replied, "but a kind crowd." The father noticed the time. If they took off on schedule, they would arrive when Grandma put bread in the oven. The picture made him happy. He wanted this trip to be a good memory. He brushed a speck from his son's sleeve and smiled. A small bump of worry touched the boy as the cabin door closed. The click sounded final. The idea of being high in the sky reached into his chest. Tears gathered at the corners of his eyes. He pressed his lips together and looked out the window at a truck on the tarmac. The truck looked steady. He tried to be steady too. Maya walked past and saw his wet eyes. "First time flying?" she asked gently. The boy nodded. "I felt scared on my first flight too," she said. "My mother told me to imagine the plane as a big friendly bird." It knows how to glide. She smiled. Would you like some water? The boy nodded again. She brought a small cup, and he took tiny sips. The father said, We appreciate your kindness. More passengers boarded, and the aisle narrowed with people and bags. Maya helped them, then returned to check on the boy. He had stopped crying, but his breath still fluttered a little. We'll be in the air soon, she said. If your ears feel funny, try yawning or chewing. She handed him a wrapped candy with the airline logo. His eyes brightened. Thank you, he whispered. The captain's voice came over the speaker, warm and confident. He talked about clear skies and smooth air. The boy listened, and the captain's tone helped. The father felt his son relax and rested a hand on his shoulder. Outside, planes waited their turn. The boy asked how planes know where to go. The father explained taxi lines and teamwork in simple words. For a few minutes, the boy forgot to be afraid. The boy leaned his head on the window edge and traced a cloud. He whispered to his toy that they would be okay. The father watched and felt gratitude rise. He loved his son's gentle heart. He wanted the world to be gentle back. A soft ding sounded, and the plane pushed back from the gate. The moving felt like a surprise, and the boy's stomach fluttered again. He breathed faster and looked at his father with wide eyes. The father lifted their linked hands and gave the two squeezes. The boy squeezed back. The signal made a small bridge between fear and safety. The engines hummed louder, steady and low. The boy tried to match his breath to the sound. Maya walked the aisle one last time, smile a little tired but warm. She checked seat belts and tray tables, the small details that keep a flight safe. When she reached their row, she crouched slightly, almost ready for our bird to fly. The boy smiled at the picture. The father looked out at the runway lights and felt the quiet joy that comes just before takeoff. He had flown many times, but it never lost its wonder. He thought of the people who keep an airline running. He knew their work, though today he wore no name. Today he was only a father. The cabin hushed as the plane lined up. The boy's small fingers found the edge of his father's sleeve. 2 squeezes. 2 back. He could do this. The father leaned close and whispered, I'm right here. A tear slipped free, small and quiet. The boy watched the wing outside, steady and sure against the sky. The wheels began to roll, a smooth run toward the open air. The boy's heart beat quick, but he held the picture of the friendly bird and his father's hand. Maya took her seat for takeoff, checked her belt, and breathed in. For a moment, everyone in the cabin shared the same hope. A safe climb, a gentle flight, a kind day, and in that moment, with the ground starting to blur and the sky opening, the boy believed it too. The wheels rolled slow at first, then faster, and the long silver wing outside the window hummed like a big calm drum. The boy's chest rose and fell with quick breaths. He held his small stuffed airplane with both hands and tried to be brave. The father leaned closer and whispered, 2 squeezes if you feel worried. The boy squeezed twice. The father squeezed back, steady and sure. A new sound came from under the floor, a deep engine note like a steady ocean. The boy looked at the aisle, then at the window, then at his father again. His eyes grew shiny. He wanted to be strong. He wanted to be quiet. But his feelings were bigger than he was. The first tear slipped down. He hid the toy between his knees. I'm scared, he said in a small voice. The father nodded. It is okay to be scared, he answered in the same soft tone as before. We are safe. Imagine a big friendly bird lifting us into the sky. The pilots know this path very well. Maya, the flight attendant, checked the last row and walked forward. She felt her headache stretch behind her eyes, a thin string pulling tight. The galley drawer had stuck earlier. A passenger had scolded her about a seat swap she could not fix. And now there was a small delay at the runway. little things, but they stacked like heavy books. She reminded herself to breathe. She reminded herself that every person on the plane had their own heavy books too. When she reached the boys, "Row," she paused. His face was red from trying not to cry. His breath was quick and shallow. The father's hand rested on his shoulder, calm as a lighthouse. "Is he okay?" Maya asked. Her voice came out a little sharper than she wanted. "It is his first time," the father said gently. "He is trying. We have a signal." Maya nodded, but the timing weighed on her. The plane needed to be ready. The captain would call, "Cabin crew, take your seats," any second. She thought of the safety demo, the checks, and the long taxi line outside. She wanted quiet now, order now, the neat straight line of a safe takeoff. She bent down and tried, a practiced smile. "Sweetheart, take a deep breath for me. Like this," she said, demonstrating in and out. The boy tried, but his breath caught. Tears fell faster. The sound came out small, then bigger, like a new rain that will not stop. Once it starts, several passengers turned their heads. A teacher with kind eyes in row 8 watched closely. A student near the bulkhead lifted her headphones and frowned, not in anger, more in concern. An older man across the aisle pressed his lips together, as if he wanted to help, but did not know how. No one spoke yet. The air filled with that quiet tension that appears when an adult and a child are trying to solve a hard moment in a public space. "Sir, we do need him calm for takeoff," Maya said. She meant to sound supportive. The words came out flat. She reached for a tissue, handed it to the father, then reached to adjust the little belt that crossed the boy's lap. The boy pulled away on reflex. It was not defiance. It was fear. The belt felt like a lock. The cabin felt like a box. "Hey, sweetheart," the father told his son. "We will make the belt feel friendly. It is like a hug that keeps you safe." He guided the boy's hands to touch the smooth fabric. The boy tried again. He hiccuped between tears. The father kept his voice steady. "Name 5 things you can see," he said in a soft game they practiced at home. "The window, the wing, your toy, my watch, the tiny light above us." The boy named each one. His voice shook, but naming helped him stand in the moment. Maya checked the aisle again. The captain's voice came on. "Flight attendants, please. Be seated for takeoff." She still had this row. Pressure pressed at her temples. In that small, crowded second, her judgment slipped. She wanted silence. She wanted control. She placed her hand on the top of the boy's shoulder and guided him back into the seat with a firm, quick motion so the belt lay flat. It was not rough in her mind, just quick and firm, but it was too much for a frightened child. To him, it felt like the sky itself was pushing him. The boy's breath broke into a sob. His toy slipped from his knees and dropped to the floor with a soft tap. His small hands reached for it, but he was buckled in and could not bend down. The father moved first. He picked up the toy and placed it back in the boy's lap. He did it slowly, with care, like placing a little bird back in its nest. "You're okay," he whispered. "I am here." Maya's own heart knocked in her chest. She heard the sound of the boys crying fill the space between the 2 rows. It bounced off the plastic window shade. It touched the faces of people who had come here for business, for family, for adventure. Leo, the other crew member, looked up from the galley and met her eyes. His look asked a question. "Do you need a hand?" "I've got it," she mouthed, but it came with a small wave of heat on her face. Another passenger, perhaps a parent, gave her a look she could not quite read. Not anger, not approval. Something like disappointment. The kind that finds a person days later when the day is quiet. "Sir," she said to the father, keeping her voice low now, "we must have him stay seated for safety. He cannot move about during takeoff. I need him to keep it down." The father looked up at her. His eyes were clear and calm, not challenging. "We will keep him seated," he said. "I ask for a little kindness while he learns how to be brave." The teacher in row 8 reached into her tote and took out a small sticker sheet with stars. She leaned across the aisle and smiled at the boy. "I have a reward for brave breathing," she said. "1 star for each big, slow breath." The boy looked at the stars through his tears. They were small and shiny, like tiny windows to a better feeling. He nodded and tried 1 slow breath. The teacher counted with her fingers, silent and steady. 1, 2, 3. The boy tried again. The second breath was longer. Leo stepped forward with 2 paper cups. He knelt by the aisle. "A trick for ears that feel funny," he said to the boy. "Hold these cups over your ears when we go up. It makes the sound feel softer." The boy's crying dropped to a small, quiet sound. He took the cups, surprised by the kindness. He looked at Maya. She felt an ache rise under her sternness. "Thank you," the father said to both crew members. Outside, the plane turned to face the runway. The cabin grew still, like a held breath. The wheels waited. The lights along the pavement lined up like pearls. The captain's voice, low and calm, came through again to tell them it would be a smooth climb. The boy listened for the voice, then looked at his father. 2 squeezes, 2 back. Maya walked quickly to her jump seat, sat down, and buckled in. Her hands felt cool now, not hot. In the small space near the door, she stared at the safety card, then at the floor, then back at the card. She tried to replay the moment in her mind. It had happened fast, like a door closing in a wind. She had meant to help. She had wanted order, but she had used firmness where gentleness was called for. She knew the line between those two is thin. She knew it matters. She remembered her own first flight as a child, how her mother had held her hand, how the roar had felt like a mountain, how the small white clouds below had looked like pillows. She had chosen this job to give that feeling of safety to others. She pressed her palm against her belt and took a slow breath of her own. The engines rose to a steady, focused sound. The plane moved. The view outside the window blurred into lines. The boy pressed the cups to his ears and kept his gaze on the edge of the wing. The father whispered a simple story in time with the roll. "We are in a big silver bird. It runs down the road to find wind under its wings. It knows how to lift." A woman 2 rows back closed her eyes and said a quiet word for peace. A man in a suit rested his briefcase tighter under his seat and thought of his own child at home. The student set her phone to airplane mode and watched the scene, her face soft now. No one spoke. No one reached for a camera. For a moment, the cabin shared the same silent wish. Let this child feel safe. Let this climb be gentle. The boy's breath got a rhythm. The tears slowed. He slid a star sticker onto the corner of the window frame, just a tiny bit, then moved it back to the sticker sheet. He wanted to save it for later, for when he was sure he had earned it. The father smiled and tapped the sticker with his finger, a quiet, "Well done." As the nose lifted and the ground fell away, the boy felt the light jump in his stomach. He squeaked, then remembered the cups and the breathing. He did 1 long breath, then another. His shoulders softened. He glanced at Maya in the front and then back to his father. The father gave him a small nod. "You are doing great." Maya's eyes were on the row numbers, but her mind sat in that earlier moment. She felt the shape of the mistake in her chest. It was not large like a mountain, but it was not small either. It had edges. It would not just evaporate. She promised herself she would fix it. She would apologize. Not in a loud, showy way, but in the plain language of care. "I am sorry. I should have been gentler. How can I help now?" The plane climbed through a thin layer of cloud. The light became soft and even. The runway fell behind like a line in a book already read. The captain turned the seatbelt sign to stay on for a bit longer. The boy sat still, his hands folded. Over his toy, the cups like oversized ears waiting in his lap. He looked out at the open, pale sky and whispered, "We are flying." "Yes," the father said, "we are flying." He looked ahead toward the front galley where Maya sat, and felt no anger in himself, only a clear request for better. He knew that people make mistakes. He knew that the measure of a team, a company, a person is how they repair. Leo stood when the chime cessed. The airplane settled into the climb and then smoothed out, like a boat that finds quiet water after small waves. The boy sat still with his toy on his lap and the tiny wings pin on his shirt. He touched the pin with one finger and felt a little stronger. The father rested his hand on the armrest, close enough for the boy to find if he needed it. They did not speak for a minute. They just listened to the steady hum that said, "We are moving forward. We are okay." The seatbelt sign stayed on a bit, longer, and then a soft chime sounded. A few people reached for their bags under the seats. A few stretched their legs and shoulders. The teacher with the sticker sheet looked over and gave the boy a quiet thumbs up. He smiled and gave a small thumbs up back. The student near the bulkhead took off her headphones for a second and said, "You did great," in a friendly voice. The boy nodded. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like himself, but with a new skill. Maya stood at the front, smoothed her uniform again, and took a slow breath. She had said the words, "I am sorry," and meant them. Now she wanted to show the meaning through her actions. She rolled the beverage cart forward with Leo, the two of them moving like a team that knows the aisle's rhythm. Leo handed out napkins with a light joke about clouds being cotton candy you cannot eat. People smiled. The light feeling spread. When the cart reached the boys' row, Maya's movements were calm and careful, like she was walking around a sleeping cat. "Water? Juice or something warm?" she asked the father. "Water for both of us, please," he said, "and if you have it, a small cookie." "We do," she said, and her eyes warmed. "A pilot's special," Leo added with a grin, placing a small pack with a cartoon airplane on the tray. The boy's eyes brightened. "Thank you," he said. He placed one cookie on his father's napkin without being told. It felt good to share. Across the aisle, the older man cleared his throat and leaned slightly toward the father. His voice was gentle, like a neighbor asking about a garden. "You handled that very well," he said. "Your boy is brave." The father answered with a soft smile. "Thank you," he replied. "He is learning, and so am I." The man nodded. "We all are," he said, and sat back. The teacher waited until Maya moved on, then leaned over again with her sticker sheet. "Would you like to put a star on your pin card each time the plane changes feeling and you stay calm?" she asked. The boy thought for a moment, then nodded. He placed one small star inside the napkin fold. It was his quiet scoreboard. He did not need to tell anyone else about it. It was his promise to himself. The father took out a small notebook from the seat pocket. He wrote a few lines in neat, simple handwriting. He did not write a long speech. He wrote what mattered. "Thank you to Leo for the kind ear cup trick. Thank you to the teacher in row 8 for the stars. Thank you to Maya for the apology and for the wings pin. Please consider more training on how to help first-time child flyers with calm, slow steps. Kindness is part of safety." He left space at the bottom, like a breath. He did not put his name on it yet. He would decide later. For now, he slipped the note back in the pocket with the safety card and looked out at the clouds. The sky was pale, blue with a soft line of white far below. He thought about the many people who made a safe flight, the folks who fueled the plane, the people who checked the tires, the team who watched weather, the pair in the cockpit reading the route, and the radios. He respected them all. He wanted the cabin team to feel proud at the end of the day. Maya and Leo continued service. Their movements were smooth, their words gentle and clear. Every please and thank you felt like a small stone placed in a path to safety. Maya noticed a woman rubbing her hands and quietly brought warm tea without being asked. She helped a tall passenger move his bag to a better spot and joked about the bag needing a window seat. The passenger laughed softly and relaxed his shoulders. Each kindness was a stitch. She was sewing the cabin back together. The boy ate half his cookie and tucked the other half in the napkin for later. "Save some for landing," the father said. The boy nodded. He looked out the window and learned the shape of the wing. He traced the flap hinge with his eyes. "What does that part do?" he asked. The father smiled. "That part helps the wing make more lift at slow speeds. We need it when we take off and when we land." The boy listened, then repeated the new word, lift, like a secret passcode. He liked how it felt in his mouth. A light ding came from above, and the seatbelt sign turned on again. A soft voice from the captain said they might feel a few bumps because of a layer of air ahead. "Nothing to worry about," he added. "Just a reminder to stay seated with belts snug." The boy's hand found his father's sleeve. 2 squeezes, 2 back. The bumps began, small, gentle, like a wagon rolling over a few pebbles. The boy took one slow breath and placed another star on his napkin. Somewhere mid-cabin, a soda can clinked on a tray, and a phone slid an inch. Maya moved down the aisle with her checklist eyes, hands ready to help. She paused at the boy's row and gave him a small nod, like a coach at the edge of a pool. The boy nodded back. The teacher counted silent breaths on her fingers again, just for him. The older man across the aisle held his book but did not read. He watched the space like a guardian. The student tapped a soft rhythm on her closed laptop, a calm beat to ride out the bumps. After a minute, the air smoothed again, as promised. People exhaled. The boy let his shoulders drop. He touched the star on the napkin and smiled. "I did it," he whispered. "You did," the father said. "That is what practice looks like." The boy looked out at the clouds and said, "They look like mountains made of milk." The father laughed softly. "Yes," he said, "and our bird knows the path between them." Maya came back with a small stack of kids' activity cards. "We keep these in the galley," she said. "I thought you might like one." The card had a maze shaped like an airplane route, a word search with sky words, and a simple picture to color. The boy held it as if it were treasure. "I don't have colors," he said. "That's okay," Maya replied. "You can use your pencil. You can shade and make it your own." The boy began the maze. He traced the line with his finger first, then drew very carefully with his pencil, making sure not to press too hard. Leo stepped to the front for a quick check-in with Maya. He spoke low. "You good?" he asked. She nodded. "Learning and serving," she said. "Me too," he replied. "Good team," she added. They bumped elbows lightly, a small, quiet cheer. A person in a navy blazer sat in row 3 on the other side of the aisle. He wore a simple badge on a lanyard tucked under his jacket so it was not obvious. He had boarded with a clipboard and a calm face. He had watched the early rush, the small mistake, the apology, the repairs. He did not take notes yet. He watched how people helped one another. He watched the father's steady way. His job was to understand the real story of a flight, not just the numbers. He sipped water and waited for the right moment to move. The father tore a small piece from the corner of his notebook and wrote a tiny message for his son. He slid it onto the tray and tapped it. The boy read, "Brave is not loud. Brave is steady." He smiled. He folded the paper and put it under his pin for luck. He returned to the maze, working slowly, not caring if he had to erase and try again. A soft aroma drifted from the front galley, coffee for those who wanted it. A quiet clink and a thank you. here and there. The cabin felt like a small town going about its day. People found a rhythm with each other. They made room, offered a napkin, shared a smile. The tension that had lived in the narrow aisle began to melt. It did not vanish in a snap. It left like fog, step by step, replaced by clear air. Maya took a moment near the front phone and called the cockpit to pass along a passenger's question about connections. Her voice was professional and warm. When she hung up, she saw the navy blazer man stand. He waited in the aisle, not blocking anyone. He looked toward the father and the boy, then toward Maya. He gave her a small, neutral nod, the kind professionals use to say, "We will speak later." Not a warning, not a threat, just a note on the schedule. Maya felt a tiny lift and a tiny weight at the same time. She straightened. She wanted the next thing she did to be the right thing. She walked back to the boys' row without the cart and crouched so her eyes were level with his. "How is the maze?" she asked. "I almost got stuck," he said, "but then I went back and tried another path." Maya smiled. "That's how we fly too," she said softly. "If the sky gives us a bump, we try another path." The father listened and appreciated the sentence. It was a sentence a good crew member says, a sentence that helps a child feel part of the solution, part of the sky. A woman 2 rows behind pressed her call button. She held a small paper bag to her chest and whispered that she felt a little queasy. Maya brought ginger ale and a cool cloth and sat for 30 seconds, just long enough for the woman to feel seen. She returned to the galley and told Leo to keep an eye on row 10. They worked as one, passing small messages that made big differences. The boy finished the maze and started the word search. He found wing and sky and seat. He could not find calm at first. The father traced a line with the tip of his finger, almost but not quite touching the paper, guiding, without telling. The boy grinned when he found it. He circled it with slow pride. He placed another star in the napkin corner, not for bumps this time. The navy blazer man stood when the captain's voice returned with a calm update about the descent. The seatbelt sign chimed on, and the cabin grew quiet again, like a classroom when the teacher lifts a hand. The boy sat taller with his tiny wings pin on his shirt. He touched it, then touched his toy airplane, and then tapped the napkin corner where 2 small star stickers waited. His breathing was steady now. He watched the wing move, curious, not scared. The father kept his hand near, an anchor close by, but not holding him down. He smiled at his son's brave face. Maya moved through the aisle with careful eyes, checking belts and trays, speaking softly to each row. She was steady now, slower in a good way. When she reached the boy, she crouched a little and pointed to the flaps on the wing. "These will move as we come down," she explained. "The sound may change, but it means the plane is doing its job." The boy nodded. "Lift," he said, proud of the new word. "Yes," she answered. "That's right." She looked at the father and held his gaze for a breath. Her eyes said what words already had. "I am sorry. I am learning." He gave a small nod back. The teacher across the aisle held up her hand with 3 fingers and then folded 1 finger at a time to count slow breaths the boy could follow. The older man closed his book and offered a gentle smile. The student near. The bulkhead took off her headphones again. The little community inside the plane felt like it had learned a rhythm together. See, pause, help. The boy placed 1 more star in the napkin corner and whispered, "Almost there." At the front, Leo finished securing the galley. The man in the navy blazer stood from row 3 when the aisle was clear and stepped forward with the quiet authority of someone who knew the dance of a landing. He did not rush. He spoke to Maya in a low voice near the front jump seat. "How are we doing?" he asked. "Under control," she said, honest, not defensive. "Thank you," he replied. He glanced down the aisle toward the boy and the father, the way a gardener checks a plant he has been watching all season. He waited as Maya finished her checks. Then he walked back to the boys' row and stopped, not blocking anyone, simply present. He gave the father a polite smile. "Good afternoon, sir," he said, a little too respectful for a normal greeting. "We didn't expect to see you on board. Today." The word "sir" was like a small bell in a quiet room. It rang without being loud. The father met his eyes, and for a second, the calm changed shape. The teacher looked up. The older man looked up. Maya, just behind the blazer man, froze a little in her step. The father's voice stayed gentle. "Hello," he said. "I prefer to travel quietly when I can." He glanced at his son and then back at the man. "We had a moment earlier. It has been addressed with care since." The navy blazer man nodded with understanding. That was not staged. "I'm grateful for your patience," he said. "We'll follow up properly." He shifted his focus to the boy. "You are doing very well." The boy smiled, not fully understanding the adult layer but feeling the warmth. Maya stood very still for half a breath, like a dancer finding balance after a turn. The sentence, "We didn't expect to see you on board today," rolled through her mind and linked to small clues. The father's calm, the respect in Leo's eyes when he passed their row, the tidy note she had seen the father slip into the seat pocket, the confidence in the navy blazer man's greeting. She felt the truth settle. The quiet father was not only a parent, he was also the person at the very top of the airline story. Her face warmed, not from fear, but from the weight of what fairness looks like when someone with true authority is watching. She took 2 small steps forward so she stood beside the blazer man and spoke softly to the father. "May I say one more thing?" He nodded. "I am grateful you gave me room to repair," she said. "I know I should have been gentler at first. I am working to be worthy of this uniform." There was no speech in her hands, no script, just plain words. The father did not perform either. "Thank you," he said. "You helped my son later. That matters." He paused, then added, "Moments like this teach us. I am interested in what would help your team support first-time child flyers better. What would you add if you could?" It was not the question Maya had expected, but it was the one that fit the moment. She answered from the place where her work lived. "A short first flyer card at boarding with pictures," she said. "One side for the child, with a breathing game and a drawing spot. One side for the adult, with simple steps. Slow voice, soft touch, choices if possible. Also, a short crew refresher, gentle first approach before firm reminders, and a kit, the ear cup trick, a tiny pin, a small sticker sheet in every cart." She looked at Leo, who nodded like a teammate at a whiteboard. "We could practice once. A month in briefing," Leo added. 2 minutes. It would change the day for a lot of families." The navy blazer man listened like a person collecting seeds. "Good," he said. "All of that is practical. We can pilot it on a few routes." He looked at the father. "With your permission, we'll draft it this week." The father gave a simple, "Please do." His son watched the adults speak, like builders, not fighters, and felt the calm in their voices. The plane dipped gently as it lined up with the approach path. The wing flaps extended a little more, and the sound changed to a soft, rushing sigh. The boy looked to his father. "That sound is the wing getting ready to be strong at slow speed," the father said. The boy took one slow breath and then another. He placed the last star on the napkin corner and whispered, "I did all the steps." The city came into view below. Small roads like threads, tiny cars like beads, a river like a gray ribbon. The boy pressed his fingers lightly to the window, careful not to leave many prints, and stared. The father felt a glow of quiet pride. that had nothing to do with titles and everything to do with growth. He glanced at Maya, who stood ready at her jump seat, shoulders set, eyes soft. She had the look of someone who had found the right lane for the rest of the day. The wheels touched the runway with a gentle skip, then held. A soft chorus of relieved breaths rose in the cabin. No one clapped, but a few smiles spread like sunrise. The boy gripped the armrest for a second and then relaxed. "We are on the ground," he said with quiet joy. "We are," the father answered, matching the tone. The teacher across the aisle gave the boy a final thumbs up. He grinned and showed her the finished star corner. The older man nodded once to the father, a small bow of respect. The student whispered, "Nice job," and zipped her bag. As the plane slowed and turned toward the gate, the Navy blazer man leaned to the father. "If you're willing, I'll ask the crew to let others leave first. Then we can speak at the front for 2 minutes. We'll keep it private." The father appreciated that. He did not like scenes. "That's fine," he said. "Thank you for thinking of the boy." The man smiled. "Always." The aircraft reached the gate, and the seatbelt sign went off. People stood, stretched, reached for bags, and began the careful, tired dance of deplaning. Maya stayed by the front, greeting each person with a genuine, "Thank you for flying with us." She made eye contact with many faces, not to search for approval, but to offer respect one person at a time. When the teacher reached the door, Maya touched her heart in a small gesture. The teacher returned it with a smile and slipped the half-used sticker sheet to Maya. "For your kit," she said. "It starts today." Maya took it like a promise. The line thinned. The cabin emptied. The boy and his father stayed seated until Leo gave them a small wave. The Navy blazer man waited by the front, giving space. When they reached the galley, Maya stood aside so the father and the boy could pass without feeling crowded. The father looked at her uniform name tag and said it out loud with care, as if to mark the person, not only the role. "Thank you for staying with us," he said. She bowed her head slightly. They stepped into the front galley nook with the blazer man. The cockpit door was open now that the flight had ended, and the captain and first officer offered a friendly nod. The boy peeked, and the captain smiled. "First flight?" he asked. "First," the father said. The captain held up his hand in a small wave. "You did great," he told the boy. "Maybe one day you'll sit up here." The boy's eyes shone. He whispered the word lift, and the captain chuckled softly, delighted by the right word in a small voice. The Navy blazer man began in a practical tone. "We will file a report," he said to the father. "We'll document the early moment and the repairs. We will remove Maya from her next sequence, not as punishment alone, but to give space for coaching and the new plan. Leo will be recognized for his care. The briefing program and kid kit. We'll prototype immediately." He paused. "We welcome any specific notes you wish to add." The father pulled the folded paper from his notebook, the one he had started mid-flight, and added, "His signature at the bottom now." He kept it simple. Gratitude for Leo and the teacher, appreciation for the captain's calming tone, respect for Maya's apology and improvements, and a clear request for training that begins with kindness. He handed it to the blazer man. "Please, share this with the head of cabin operations," he said, "and send me the draft of the first flyer program. I want this to be a model, not a one-time fix." Maya stood a respectful step away, listening, learning. The words "remove from next sequence" made her stomach dip, but not from shame alone, from the strong desire to do better next time. She chose her next sentence with care. "Thank you for the chance to learn," she said. "I will practice to—" The jet bridge felt cool and bright. The boy walked slowly so he could feel each step after the long time in the sky. His wings pin shone on his shirt. He held the small first flight card flat with both hands so it would not bend. The father stayed close, not rushing him. He carried only one bag and the toy airplane. He looked calm, like a person who knew how to carry two kinds of weight at once, a bag and a day. Grandma waited at the glass wall where people come out. She clapped her hands softly when she saw them. The boy ran the last few steps and hugged her tight. "I flew," he told her. "I felt scared, then brave, then happy." She touched his wings pin and smiled with her whole face. "You grew today," she said. "I can see it." They found a quiet bench near a big window where planes were taxiing. The boy pointed to the flaps on the wings outside. "That part makes lift," he said proudly. "It helps when the plane goes slow." Grandma looked at the father with warm surprise. "He knows new words," she said. The father nodded. "He knows them in his bones now," he answered, and then added softer, "Me too." They shared a small snack from Grandma's bag, warm bread she had wrapped in a cloth. The boy took careful bites so he wouldn't drop crumbs on his certificate. He told Grandma about the ear cups trick, about the star stickers, about the teacher's counting fingers, about Leo's kind jokes, and about Maya's apology. He did not tell the story to make anyone look bad. He told it to show how many hands held him up in that small moving city in the sky. On the way to the car, the father's phone buzzed once. It was a short message from the Navy blazer man. "Drafting begins tomorrow. Thank you for the clear direction. We will send you the plan." For first flyer card and kit, the father wrote back one line: "Make it simple, warm, and standard." That evening, Grandma set the certificate on the mantel. The boy built a runway with couch cushions and practiced takeoffs with his toy. He repeated his favorite parts of the day, the two squeezes signal, the word lift, the captain's calm voice, the moment the wheels touched the ground. When it was time to sleep, he placed the wings pin on his bedside table and the toy airplane beside it, like two friends resting after a long game. The father checked on him and found him awake, staring at the ceiling. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. The boy whispered, "I was scared and then I wasn't. Will I remember how to do that next time?" The father sat on the edge of the bed and spoke in the same gentle voice he had used on the plane. "Yes," he said, "because you practiced. And we wrote it into your body with slow breaths and small stars. It stays." The boy nodded, turned the pin so it caught a stripe of moonlight, and fell asleep. The next morning, the father went to the airline office. He did not enter like a king. He walked in like a builder. The meeting room was plain and bright, with a whiteboard, a carafe of coffee, and a stack of sticky notes. The Navy blazer man was there, along with the head of cabin operations, the training lead, and a crew supervisor on video. Maya joined by video too in a quiet corner at home, hair pulled back, uniform folded neatly on a chair behind her. The father listened first. The training lead laid out a short plan. "We call it the first flyer pack," she said. "Inside, a two-sided card, a mini sticker sheet with stars, a simple maze and word search, one pair of paper cups with a printed drawing on them to make the ear trick fun, and a small wings pin." She showed the card on the screen. One side had pictures for kids, a friendly bird plane, a breathing square with numbers at each corner, and a spot to draw what they see out the window. The other side had 5 lines for adults: speak slow, offer choices, name what will happen next, use the family's calming signal, repair gently if you miss the first step. "Good," the father said. "Make the language simple. Make the pictures clear and calm. Add a line for, you can be brave and still cry, both can happen. That line matters." The head of cabin operations wrote it down word for word. Maya spoke when invited. Her voice was steady. "We need a 2-minute practice. In every briefing," she said. "One crew member plays a nervous child, one plays the parent, one plays the attendant. We do the gentle first approach. We say the apology sentence out loud so it lives in our mouths. And we show each other the ear cups trick, so new crew learn it. There was no tremble in her voice, only purpose. Leo joined by phone and added a simple idea. Put the kid pack in the top of each cart, he said, not hidden. If it is near, we will use it. The crew supervisor agreed. We will add a line to the service checklist, she said. Check water, check coffee, check kid packs. The Navy blazer man looked around the room. We will try this on 5 routes this week, he said. We'll collect notes and roll out next month. He turned to the father. We'll send you the final card and the training clip. The father nodded. Good. Then we will run a thank you note in our employee app to credit the idea to the team. Names matter. He looked at Maya on the screen. Thank you for speaking frankly, he said. We grow through honest words. After the meeting, Maya stayed on video for a short coaching session. The trainer role-played a first time, child who pulled away during a belt check. Maya practiced a softer posture, a lower voice, and slower hands. She tried a sentence that offered a choice. Would you like to hold your toy while we make the belt feel friendly? Or would you like your grown-up to hold your toy for a minute? You decide. The trainer smiled. That lands better, she said. You are making room for the child's courage. Maya wrote the sentence down and said it again until it felt natural. Days passed. A small, warm poster went up in crew rooms. Gentle first. Repair fast. Kindness is part of safety. The first packs were stocked in carts. The 2-minute practice became a normal part of briefings. Some crew rolled their eyes at the poster on day 1 and then found themselves grateful for the script on day 7. One attendant wrote in the app, I used the breathing card with a little boy on a red eye. He smiled through tears and did 4 slow breaths. We both felt better. At Grandma's house, the boy taped his certificate into a scrapbook page and drew a big wing next to it. He wrote the word lift in careful letters. He wanted to send a message to Maya and Leo and the teacher with the stars. He asked the father for 3 envelopes. He made 3 drawings, one of the ear cups trick for Leo, one of a breathing square for Maya, and one of a starry sky for the teacher. The father found a way to get each drawing to the right person. He did not include his title. He wrote only, From your friend who learned to fly. 1 week later, the training team sent the father a short video clip from a crew room. Maya stood with 3 others. They practiced the gentle first posture. They spoke the apology, sentence in full. They laughed once at a small mistake, then tried again. The clip ended with Leo holding the 2 paper cups like big ears and the group grinning. The father watched the clip twice. He sent back a simple line, This is good work. 2 weeks later, the Navy blazer man shared a small stack of notes from passengers. One said, My daughter was scared on takeoff. Your attendant gave her a kid card, showed her the breathing square, and stood near us during the bumps. We felt cared for. Another said, Thank you for the star stickers. My son saved one for landing and felt proud. Please keep this program. A third note said, The apology mattered. It was simple, quick, and real. It repaired the moment. The father read each note and felt the way a person feels when a plan becomes a thing that lives in other people's hands. Maya received a note in her crew mailbox with a tiny drawing of a breathing square. It had a small signature. From your friend who learned to fly. She knew who it was. She smiled and placed the drawing inside the clear cover of her training folder. On her next flight, she met a nervous child and crouched with gentle eyes. Would you like to draw what you see out the window on this card? She asked. Or would you like to do the maze while we get ready? The child chose the maze. The parent exhaled, grateful. One sunny Saturday, the boy and Grandma visited the small airport museum. He walked past engines, old photos, and a big model with tiny planes on a route map. He traced a line from one city to another with his finger. We flew a line like this, he told her. It felt like drawing on the sky. At the gift shop, Grandma let him pick one small booklet about how airplanes work. He chose the one, with a picture of a wing and the word lift on the cover. That night, he showed the father a page that explained flaps with simple pictures. I knew this already, he said. Now I know the name of each part. The father smiled. That is how learning grows, he said, step by step. At the airline office, the head of cabin operations posted a short update. First flyer pack is now standard on all routes. Thank you to our crews for gentle first service. Thank you to the training team for quick rollout. Thank you to Maya and Leo for simple, smart ideas. Thank you to a quiet passenger and his child for reminding us why this work matters. There was no mention of the father's title. It was not needed. People who needed to know, knew. Everyone else felt the change in the aisle. The boy's second flight came a month later. When they boarded, he showed the gate agent his wings pin from the last trip. I have one already, he said. I will give the new one to my cousin. On the plane, he looked at the wing and said, Hello, lift, like greeting an old friend. At pushback, he did not need the ear cups. He kept them on his L,